Week 1, you're their soulmate. Week 2, they're talking about moving in. Week 3, you can't remember the last time it felt this intense with anyone. And honestly, you're starting to wonder if everyone else has just been settling this whole time. That's not fate moving fast. It might be a tactic called love bombing, and the fact that it feels so real is exactly why it works, and exactly why almost nobody catches it while it's happening. Love bombing is a pattern of excessive early affection, constant compliments, grand gestures, declarations of soulmate-level connection, delivered at a pace that outstrips how long you've actually known the person. It's not that affection itself is bad. Genuine excitement about someone new is completely normal. What makes love bombing different is the pace relative to the actual relationship, and more importantly, the function it's serving. Love bombing front-loads intensity specifically to build trust and attachment faster than it would naturally form. Before you've had time to actually evaluate who this person is, what they value, or how they handle conflict. Think about how trust normally develops. You watch how someone treats a waiter. You see how they handle a canceled plan. You notice whether their actions over months match their words in the first week. Love bombing tries to skip that entire evaluation window by manufacturing the emotional payoff of trust, the warmth, the certainty, the feeling of being chosen, without actually giving you the time needed to verify any of it. Here's the part that explains why even self-aware, experienced people fall for this. Intense early affection triggers real dopamine and attachment chemistry, the same reward pathways involved in genuine connection. Your brain, in the moment, doesn't have a separate chemical signature for real versus manufactured closeness. A compliment lights up the same reward circuitry whether the person means it as genuine appreciation or as a calculated move. That's why it doesn't feel manipulative while it's happening. It feels like the best connection you've ever had, because chemically, in that moment, it partly is. The dopamine is real. The oxytocin from physical affection is real. What's not necessarily real is the story being told about what that chemistry means, that it proves this is your soulmate, that this is rare, that anyone who questions the pace doesn't understand what we have. There's also a specific vulnerability window worth naming. People are most susceptible to love bombing right after a period of loneliness, a breakup, or a stretch of feeling unseen. That's not a coincidence either. Intense attention lands hardest exactly when you're most starved for it, and manipulative partners, consciously or not, tend to escalate fastest with people who are currently in that state. Love bombing doesn't always look like flowers and grand gestures. It shows up in a few different shapes, and recognizing all three matters because most people only watch for the obvious one. Form 1. The verbal flood. Constant, "You're perfect. I've never felt this way before. We're soulmates." Repeated so often and so early that the words start to lose their weight, even though in the moment they feel incredible to hear. Form 2. The material flood. Expensive or excessive gifts very early on. Not because generosity is inherently suspicious, but because gifts delivered before real trust exists can create a subtle sense of obligation. It becomes harder to set a boundary with someone who has done so much for you already. Form 3. The future flood. This is the one people miss most often. It's not compliments or gifts. It's rapid talk of moving in together, meeting family, marriage, a life fully planned out within weeks. This form works differently. Instead of overwhelming you emotionally in the present, it gives your brain a vivid, detailed future to get attached to, and losing an imagined future can feel just as painful as losing something real, which is part of what makes walking away later so hard. Real connection tends to build gradually and survive disagreement. Love bombing front-loads everything, then uses that manufactured closeness to fast-track trust, and often fast-track compliance, before you've had time to vet the person at all. Here's the test that actually reveals which one you're in. Does the intensity survive you saying no to something small? Not a huge boundary, something minor. Rescheduling a date, wanting a night to yourself, not replying within an hour. A genuine early connection can absorb a small no without much drama, because the other person's interest in you doesn't depend on constant reassurance. If the affection flips, even briefly, to guilt, coldness, withdrawal, or a sudden comment like, "I guess you're not as into this as I am," the moment you set even a minor boundary, that's your answer. It reveals that the warmth was conditional on your compliance, not actually about who you are. A second, quieter tell. Notice whether the intensity is matched by curiosity. Does this person ask real questions about your life, your past, what you actually want, and then remember the answers? Or is most of the energy going into declarations about the relationship itself rather than genuinely getting to know you? Manufactured intensity tends to talk a lot about us very early, while investing surprisingly little in actually learning who you are as an individual. Worth being fair here, some people are just genuinely enthusiastic and affectionate early on, without any manipulative intent at all. Fast doesn't automatically mean fake, and treating every early declaration of excitement as a red flag would leave you suspicious of perfectly healthy connections too. The distinguishing factor isn't speed alone. It's whether the intensity is paired with pressure. Pressure to commit faster, to ignore your own pace, to not question anything because, we don't need to, we're different from everyone else. Genuine enthusiasm respects your pace even while it hopes you'll catch up to it. Love bombing overrides your pace and treats any hesitation as a problem to be solved rather than a boundary to be respected. The feeling isn't proof either way. Real or manufactured connection can both feel incredible in the moment. The pace, and specifically what happens when you slow that pace down, is what actually tells you the truth. If this helped you make sense of something, subscribe. This is exactly what we break down every week on Mindverse.